folks, Ray Gano here, Real Men Wear Kilts. How's everybody doing? Listen, we tried getting Glen on before, Glen Allardyce. Am I saying that correctly? Allardyce. And we had problems with it, getting the audio and everything. So what we're doing is redoing the interview, and I'm so glad that Glen is back with us today. So Glen, how you doing?
Good, Ray. How are you?
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Now, you're up in Toronto, Canada, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And what's the temperature up there right now?
This morning it was minus 20
Burr.
with the wind.
So definitely not kilt weather. Or I don't know, what's the coldest weather you've been in to wear a kilt?
Coldest I've ever done was minus 40.
Ooh, cold.
And that's where Celsius and Fahrenheit level off. So minus 40 Celsius is the same as minus 40 Fahrenheit. They're both really cold.
So freaking cold.
Yeah.
We won't talk about Commando or anything then, I guess.
I still won't say.
So, well, we were talking before and everything. Thought I'd bring you on, and what we're going to do is just talk about kilts. And you're pretty active in the kilted community. I see you on a lot of the other boards and groups out there on Facebook and everything. So a lot of people know you. So that's why I thought it'd be really fun getting you on and having you be the first interview here on Real Men Wear Kilts. So do me a favor. How long have you been wearing kilts?
Well, that goes back a long ways. When I was a kid, I was actually learning the pipes, and I gave them up. I had too many things going on. I had, I'm a graphic designer, so I had art class, I had bagpipe lessons, and I had sports. And something had to give, and I was 8 or 9 years old. And my dad said, "Right, you're going down the street, and you're going to learn the pipes from Ronnie Rollo." And so that didn't last very long. But I would say the first time I really wore a kilt was at my brother's wedding, and that was 16, 17 years ago. And I remember the thought was, wow, why haven't I done this before? This is great. And so shortly after that, I started wearing them more regularly. But that first one was, of course, a rental,
I guess, what was your first kilt then? You were talking about it, so can you remember your first kilt?
Oh, yeah. The first kilt I ever had was my dad's old kilt. He gave it to me. It was made by Alex Scott & Co. In Aberdeen. It was made in 1950, and it's gun modern.
Oh, cool. Cool. Now, tell me about this. You were very influential in the Scottish Wildcat tartan, and that's actually becoming rather popular, tartan. I'm seeing more and more people wear that. And what was your role? What did you play in that?
I was the designer.
Awesome.
Of the tartan, yeah.
Wow. Are you the register of the tartan, or is the Scottish Wildcat Association or whoever it is the owner?
I don't own the tartan. I was simply the designer, and we gave the rights to Wildcat Haven in Scotland, and they are trying to save the Scottish Wildcat.
Yeah.
When I first got involved with the project, they estimated between 30 and 300 Wildcat left.
Wow.
So more endangered than, say, the Bengal tiger.
Yeah. Big time. Now I've seen, you have a complete outfit, waistcoat, jacket, kilt, and everything. And who did you have make that for you?
The kilt was sewn up by Barb Tewksbury. She's in upstate New York, and she's the author of The Art of Kilt Making. It was the first kilt in the Scottish Wildcat tartan.
Wow.
To be made. The first run was from E.C. Doug Leash, and the subsequent runs have been from Andrew Elliott.
So you have kilt number 1 of the Scottish Wildcat.
Yes.
Awesome.
The jacket and waistcoat I had made here in Toronto by a company named the Scottish Company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many kilts do you own then? And then what is your favorite kilt that you own?
Well, I'm at 23 now. I've given away a few. My favorite right now is the Scottish Wildcat tartan, but we've talked a bit about that. So my other favorite would be my Royal Naval Association tartan, which was also hand-sewn by Barb Tewksbury.
Now, is your Royal Naval I don't know, restricted? Because I know that, for example, here in America we have the Special Forces tartan, and for you to wear that tartan, you actually have to send in your DD-214 and prove that you were part of Special Forces and everything.
Right.
But then also we have the Army, Navy, Marine, and everything, and I don't think they're really policed in a sense. You know, anybody can wear the Army tartan and everything like that. But is the Royal Navy tartan policed?
It was held for veterans of the Royal Navy or widows for 5 years from time of design. The whole story for why I've got it is my uncle, who I was named for. My middle name's McMurdo. His first name was McMurdo. He was 14 years old when he volunteered for the Navy in World War II.
Wow.
And lived through all of that and was on a couple of boats that sunk and whatnot. Didn't talk about it much. Came back with what we know now as PTSD. But nobody talked about it then.
Yeah.
You know, so he just didn't say anything. But it was an important time for him in his life. And when the year he passed away, they released the Royal Naval Association tartan. See, it's the association that's important. It's not. There are other Royal Naval tartans, but this is the Royal Naval Association. So, so they released it for anybody to wear, and I got in touch with Barb Tewksbury and said I'd really love that tartan, and so she went to DC Dougleash, and they wove up 8 yards, a single width, shipped it back to her, and she got to hand sewing, and I drove down to Hamilton College where she works and picked it up. Awesome.
Now I've seen some of your pictures on Facebook and so forth in some of the groups. You've got this really nice coat or kilt jacket, and you mentioned that you found it, I guess, on eBay or something. It's an antique coat. How old is that? That's a nice jacket.
Yeah, my oldest one is from 1894.
Wow.
And I found it actually on Facebook Marketplace. A friend of mine had tagged me in something in one of the vintage menswear discussions. Somebody was looking for an old Argyle jacket. And I said, well, you should check out ebay.co.uk. And then somebody put that one up and said, well, this one's on Marketplace right now. And the original guy said, well, that's not my size. And he didn't go for it. So I waited a couple of days, and he never went for it, and I got in contact with the seller. It was in London, England, and he didn't want to ship it.
Oh, wow.
So I had to talk to him for about 3 months, and I got a friend of mine who lives in London to pick it up for me and ship it to me.
Do you have any old sporrans?
Oh yeah, I've got a few. Like my first sporran, of course, was again my dad's sporran, and it's just a brown daywear sporran from AJ Scott and Co. or Alex Scott and Co. And it was from 1950. I recently got another daywear sporran from eBay for I think it was £10.
Wow,
which was made in 1940. But my oldest is the horsehair sporran that I've got, which is from 1911.
Wow. That's amazing. How do you find all these things on eBay? Or do you just kind of keep an eye out for these things? Or would you consider yourself, I guess, a collector of antique clothing, or what, I don't know how you would call that, but I guess antique clothing?
Not really. I mean, my interests are basically, kilt wear. Um, I've just been lucky, I guess. I mean, one of my older favorite jackets was from about the 1940s, and it's a brown tweed, and I found it at a local tartan shop, and the guy had it on consignment for $40.
Wow.
And it's Harris tweed, it's brown, and the buttons are actual antler buttons. They're not just the plastic ones that we get these days.
Wow.
Another one I found was from the 1940s, and it's in the Burns check.
Hmm.
And it's got wooden buttons, so it's a little bit different. I've never seen wooden buttons on another Argyle jacket.
Interesting.
But I've kept an eye out on eBay, and like I'm patient, so and people will, like with the Sporin. It was a friend of mine that sold it to me because he knew I wanted a horsehair Sporin.
Yeah.
So he sold that to me, and as well he gave me a velvet doublet that didn't fit him anymore from 1911 as well.
Wow.
So I wear those for black tie stuff. And I also got a jacket and waistcoat from him that was made for a gentleman in Edinburgh in 1931. And he got it from his daughter after the guy passed away, but it didn't quite fit him. So he asked me if I wanted it, and I bought it from him, and it fit me like it was made for me.
Awesome. What is your favorite Scottish food?
Well, I mean, there's shortbread, but I finally coerced my mom to give me her shortbread recipe, so I make my own shortbread now.
Awesome.
But I would say, haggis has got to be it. I think that's everybody's top of the list, which is funny because it is kind of a, thrown together mash of what was left off. So I guess quite telling for the day when it started,
Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, it almost sounds like you can use it as a clean the refrigerator out sort of recipe. And then whatever the spices and nutmeg and all that others, oatmeal and everything. I need to get a couple of haggis recipes and give that a try and see if I'm able to make it with other bits and pieces that I find in the fridge. Now, something that I see that you're involved in a lot up there in the Toronto area is something you've got, Tartan Tuesday. You have a lot of pictures on your Facebook group and everything with that. Do me a favor, tell me a little about Tartan Tuesday. It'd be something I'd like to maybe try to get going down here.
Well, we started going on 6 years ago now, and it was three of us sitting at a Scottish pub, and one guy said, I'd like to do this every month, but I don't want to be the only guy that shows up in a kilt. So I'm game if somebody will guarantee they'll be here. And years before, we had a group of guys, like 10 years ago, and we used to go all over southern Ontario. We would go to Niagara Falls for a kilt night, and that's an hour and a bit drive away, or we would go to Fergus, where we have the Highland Games. There's a big Highland Games there every year, to a pub up there, or wherever. And we actually had a guy that would show up from upstate New York.
Wow.
Every once in a while. He worked at the border. So.
Yeah. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time being with us today to also redo this interview and everything. It was my mess up, and so I hope this one does go through as well. And I appreciate your time, appreciate all the things that you do for the kilted community, and also being the designer for the Scottish Wildcat. That's quite a coup there. And just everything that you do, I appreciate it, and continue to post in the group and share your kilted life. One last thing. You were doing a day in the kilt or some sort of charitable fundraiser. Can you give me a quick spiel of what, are you still doing that, or is that something you're going to pick up again in the summertime or anything?
I've kind of knocked back from that one. The whole idea of that was it was called Kilting for a Cause, and it's for a friend of mine who really desperately needs to get out of the situation that she's in. She's got multiple disabilities and such, and honestly the way things are up here for the disabled is insane. We don't have like you guys have the Americans with Disabilities Act. We don't have anything like that up here.
Wow.
My twin brother has got CP, so it's something that's been close to my heart my whole life. He works in the Ontario government now, and they're trying to get something, and he's kind of involved in that. But it's going to be a long time before there's anything, and people still have to live. So, so it was my idea to say, you know what, I'm going to do this every day for a year. I'll start taking pictures and posting them, and then for every donation I get, I'll add another day. And I'll put your name on and everything else. And we basically caught up to everybody. And then we've got a few donations recently that I have to do. But at -20, I kind of said, well, maybe I'll wait a couple of days, or we'll do it in the afternoon when the sun's out and stuff. So I might pick up on it again shortly. But, we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
Awesome. Well, again, I just thank you so much for being on here with us, Glen. It's been a real joy, a real pleasure, and you're quite the person in the kilted community, so it is an honor to have you here on Real Men Wear Kilts Show. So my name's Ray. I just want to say, hey, goodbye, God bless, and kilt on.